And it looks like Connie has signed up for some public comment.
Actually, I have 3 of them. Many of you know Mary Christensen, who used to serve here, and she was at our, I'm Connie Berglund from Amazon Neighborhood. And she came to our Amazon meeting and did a presentation on crosswalks. And it's surprising that people, we had people from a number of different neighborhoods, and they came, and there was quite a crowd that stayed there to learn about the legal requirements for crosswalks and how to access crosswalks, and also the pedestrian bicycle dynamics at crosswalks. It was really well attended, so it's really kind of cool. I think everybody knows about some of the bizarre vehicle pedestrian deaths and injuries that have occurred over the last month. But I'm just gonna, that continues, I guess, month after month. It's very sad. But what I would like to ask people to, as a reminder, and this is not necessarily for the committee itself, but for people as individuals and neighbors, is with everything exploding in growth right now, I'd like to remind everyone to clip along the sidewalks. Try and keep the sidewalks clear, especially of berries, roses, anything that a person, especially a blind person, but other people, children, people in wheelchairs, so that they can have a safe corridor as we use our sidewalks, because everything's growing like crazy right now. So that's what all I have to say.
Thanks, Connie.
Thanks, Connie. I think that's all we have for public comment. So we can move on to approving the notes. So I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks so much, Willow. All right. So everyone got the notes as part of their packet. It occurred to me as I was reading it, I don't know how many of you actually get around to reading them. I know I did not always when I wasn't the chair and didn't feel responsible for it, but it did occur to me like the quick and easy way to do the notes, because most of us, by the time we read them, aren't going to remember the meeting particularly clearly, is to scan through and make sure what the most important things you said got captured and that they were captured correctly. And that makes it really quick and easy to do, and preferably do it before you get here and ship off any changes to Willow so she can go ahead and incorporate those. Anyway, my one suggestion today about how to do the notes, but we should approve the ones that were taken from last time. Do I have a motion to approve? Alice, second from Sue. All right. Everyone in favor of approving the notes? Or opposed? All right, great. Thanks so much. All right, we've got, as always, an action-packed agenda tonight, but we start with the traffic signals memo. You may remember we sent off, the policy committee prepared, and we sent off a second set of requests and ideas to the traffic signals folks. And Natasha's here with questions, clarification.
Yes. And just a casual conversation. If you want to come sit up with us, Natasha reached out to me and said that her and her team were working through some of the recommendations in the traffic signals memo and wanted to have an opportunity to just come sort of like have a check-in / chat with us. So this doesn't have a presentation or anything. It's just an opportunity to go through some of the things that we asked for.
And if I could just say, I so much appreciate you guys like really taking this seriously and having this ongoing conversation with us. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I would reiterate.
All right. I do have the memo that we sent you. Do you think it'd be helpful if I put it up on screen so we like have that list to go through? Let's see. Hybrid meeting footwork here for a second.
On my left corner.
I'm sharing the wrong screen. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Okay.
What can we help with?
All right. Well, a little clarification on a few things. Let's start off with Willamette and 29th, recalling along 29th. I'm assuming it's the wait time, probably during PM hours or AM peak hours that this recall is warranted for.
Ash, I'm doing this.
I didn't add this into the list, but I do live in that, I don't know whoever added this and if they wanna speak up, they may not be here anymore. I do live in that neighborhood, I assume that's probably what, and I do cross that pretty frequently, and I think that's probably what they're referencing is just kind of the typical where it's a very long light. And if you push the button, you generally have to wait until the next cycle starts, you
Right.
can't call it, or what do you call it, you can't reservice. So, and it's also one of those where if you're trying to cross diagonally, I believe on this one, you have to kind of cross and then wait another like half cycle or something to be able to cross the other one.
I figured you'd say.
So I just think,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's just generally very long waits to cross the direction there, and so anything that could improve those delays, like recall or reservice and rest and walk, you know, to make it as long as the green cycle, which it may already be, I'm not sure. Yeah, so I didn't add this one, but yeah, I think it's just generally a tough one to cross.
Okay,
Also, if there's any clarification, I would say we don't know the exact details of how every signal is programmed, obviously. And so some of these are our feelings about things that most of the time we've checked, but it's possible it's not accurate. If you want to enlighten us as to like how that particular signal is actually programmed,
right.
I think we can be through that.
Might be able to toggle between like Google Maps as well, if we want to like pull up an
You want to
intersection.
juggle all that?
Yeah. So if anyone does feel like a visual would be helpful, if we're talking about a certain intersection, I could always pull it up for it.
Yeah, but that's certainly something we can do. Drawback would be for drivers, we would have to get rid of that flashing yellows because we don't allow those while the peds are on.
Oh, okay.
We're,
Oh.
that's a newer thing that we're trying to
Okay.
make citywide.
Yes,
That
taking
won't
a breath.
And do you think so sometimes the left-hand turn lane, both those left-hand turn lanes on Willamette can get pretty backed up.
Yep,
So would that be a problem? Do you think that will work? I mean, based on,
there's pros and cons to it and we'll see how it behaves, honestly. It is already an oversaturated intersection. So it could make it worse, but I don't know if it would make it much worse than it already is.
Well, that's the question. And if it were to increase wait time for cars by a few seconds, but decrease wait time for
Exactly.
pedestrians by
Mhm.
10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, it'd be way more significant for pedestrians.
Yeah, so we'll see.
things?
Just a different issue with that same intersection. I'm fairly often coming east on 29th and wanting to turn north on Willamette,
Okay.
and the signal won't detect my bike. I have to hope.
Oh, actually, it's true also on Willamette going north. Is that where you're talking? No, I'm on Willamette going north, wanting to turn east on 29th, and it won't detect me there either.
Okay, so the left turns.
Yeah.
Most likely the sensitivity for those loops need to be turned up higher. Hopefully that will fix the problem.
I would guess I don't do the other two at all, so maybe all four of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty
so
sure it's.
we can take a look at that as well.
Ash, you used the term recall, and then what was the other one?
Resurface.
Research, I've been trying to study up on this.
Your terms.
What is reservice?
So reservice is essentially what you're trying to say in terms of is if the ped walk is going and the countdown has gone for the don't walk, that if you press the button, it can serve that walk again.
Oh, if there's enough time within the green
Yes.
cycle.
Yeah, and it's tricky with 29th and Willamette because it doesn't work like downtown does. It's not pre-timed, so it is essentially calculating how much time it needs on the fly. And so when a ped button gets pushed, it just pushes it to the next cycle. It won't try and allocate it to that cycle.
Is it also called reservice if there is no walk going currently? There's just like a green in the same direction. But there's a don't walk and you push the
Yes,
button
yeah,
and it calls up
yes.
a walk for you.
If there's no conflicting movements, then yes, it could be a reservice.
I know some of the older ones will do that, the ones with the big chunky button.
Yeah.
A lot of newer ones don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of attributes that need to be adjusted for it to do certain things. And we've noticed that with the newer controllers, we're having a bit of an issue. And we're trying to work through it to make sure that we can reservice.
On that intersection, I'm not sure if this is what the person was referring to when they said multiple turn opportunities conflicts with pedestrians, but I have noticed that intersection is particularly bad for motorists blowing through the crosswalk when it has a walk sign. Almost always I get like one or two cars turning through going northbound after the crosswalk comes on. I don't know if that's anything.
That we can change with signals. It's
Change with
more
signals.
behavior issue.
It is a pretty
Yeah.
scary intersection.
All right, I think that'll do for that one. River and Maxwell. The ask was for an LPI. We already have an LPI there. I'm not sure if you were asking for more time on that LPI.
Do you have an LPI where, for the crossing River Road, is there an LPI for crossing Maxwell?
Let's see.
Cause I wonder if maybe they just got confused on which one they were. talking for the crossing.
Leading pedestrian interval is when the green light comes on for the walking before the green light comes on for the cars, so you can get into the intersection safely.
Yeah, it gives you like a head start, kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Usually 3 to 7 seconds before. And yes, it is all
Okay,
swaps on that intersection.
great. Redundant.
You can delete that.
I think I wrote that down and I did not double check before I said that, so my bad.
Also,
Yes.
we have a lot of general ideas that we gave you some specific suggestions last time, which was awesome. And you just did specific ones. And originally we had hoped these were like ideas and samples. So it was suggested to us, we give you another chunk of ideas and of specific intersections. So that there are a lot of intersections in these cities.
Yeah.
It's like, it's very, so different people on the committee put different things and we checked a lot of them. Ash is a person who, when he puts one on, goes and times it and makes sure every time, and not all of us did that.
That's okay.
I do have a question for the LPIs though,
Yes.
like, do you mostly implement them on a request basis, or do you have like a sort of like
That's a great question.
these streets, we are looking at putting LPIs because of the conditions?
Yeah.
Typically on a request basis.
Okay, gotcha.
So how does a policy get in place to make, like, say, based on a certain amount of pedestrian demand or a certain amount of busyness on an intersection or a certain amount of danger factor get put in place? Because I honestly think we would prefer that over giving you specific intersections, because there are also parts of the city that are not represented on this committee that might have those demands. I mean, we do our best, but
I'm not sure how we would navigate a policy.
Yeah, I don't know if we would probably have it be like a official policy that's like an adopted document or
Guidelines.
whatever, but we could
Guidelines.
create like internal staff guidelines, and
Yeah.
that could be something our team could probably like work with you
Yeah.
on to like do a more holistic analysis of the
Right.
city. So maybe we put that in like our recommendations, capture that in the notes for ATC.
yeah.
And I could talk with maybe Christina and Logan
Yeah,
once things
yeah,
calm
that
down
would
for
be
them a little bit. On what that might look like, because that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. what's
Franklin and Onyx, the LPI crossing Franklin.
I can talk to that one.
Okay.
It's, because I hear about it at home. My wife crosses there every day. And she asserts, and I've tried to test it myself, but there are always pedestrians when I'm there, but she asserts that when she hits the button that's set for cyclists, as opposed to the one up on the sidewalk for
Yes.
pedestrians to get across Franklin, that she then gets caught partway across with it changing on her and letting the cross traffic on Franklin go.
Okay, so is this a tandem with increasing the cyclist triggered signal?
That's what he's talking about here.
Yeah, so it's essentially the cyclist triggered signal is too short for her to get across
Right.
before it changes.
Okay, is the LPI part of that?
No, I don't know who added the
Okay.
LPI crossing
That was
Franklin.
me,
Yeah.
I crossed Onyx today and I nearly saw a left turner like turn into a bunch of pedestrians because there's no left turn signal for people
Right.
crossing from Onyx, turning left onto onto Franklin. And so I think it would be nice right there to have an LPI so that people can really get into the middle of Franklin and have less of an issue of drivers like turning into people walking. And I think it's pretty much identical to Walnut in the way that the LPI crossing Franklin at Walnut has made it a lot safer. I think that Onyx could serve that same thing.
Okay, I see. Yeah, because we were looking at that, we we're like, I don't know how much turning movement occurs on Onyx
Yeah.
to conflict with pedestrians.
Yeah, I saw 2 cars today turning from Onyx onto Franklin. And yeah, with the lack of left turn signal,
They're just not yielding to pedestrians.
yeah, or they're getting like 5 feet from pedestrians and then sitting there, it's like really impatiently, and it's just a really uncomfortable experience.
Menacing, the big grill menacing you as you walk.
Yeah.
The pedestrian signal is quite long there when it's triggered, like the drivers shouldn't get anxious because the pedestrians will clear.
Yes.
I have experienced using the cyclist triggered button and not being all the way through when it switches to yellow. It does feel really.
So, and that's interesting that the cyclist button has such a different time than the pedestrian button. Is that,
Oh, that button does nothing.
which one does nothing?
Well, those are camera based.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those buttons don't do anything.
Oh.
It's just a feel good button.
Yeah.
It's present.
Or is that like a legacy button?
They used to work.
Used to work.
Don't take my words for granted, because I'm not sure about the wiring, but I remember doing camera work there, and we've got cameras aimed for the bikes.
So,
on both sides.
so and then that's giving, so when only a cyclist is there. So my wife feels like when she gets up on the sidewalk and hits the pedestrian button, that she gets the full
Full length.
link.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then, once she's on the sidewalk, it registers that she's a
It's in the
pedestrian?
bike, yeah.
Interesting.
So is it possible to lengthen the bike
Yes,
trigger?
yeah, it's dependent on the detector that it's doing, so
Mhm.
I have adjusted a little and I'll adjust it a little more. But yeah, it should already be increased a lot better than what it was.
She said there was briefly a sign there asking people for information about that. Did you put that up? Oh, interesting. So someone else, this wasn't even just us, someone else was really upset about that.
Interesting.
Is there any policy on, I mean, when there is an LPI, can a bike go when the pedestrian can? Just, I mean, cause I'd like to get out where traffic can see me too, if I'm on my bike. And I do it, nobody's arrested me, but, is it?
Not that I'm aware of.
I talked to the P-BOT staff about this question 2 weeks ago, and there is a sign you can put on the signal that says bikes use ped signal, and that's what Portland does, is everywhere they have LPIs, they add this little sign that's this big that says bikes use ped signal. And then to that, they said that makes it legal for bikes to use the ped signal. So that might be another recommendation we could make in the future, is to add that sign. where
Maybe
we
in
have-
areas that we know have high bike traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I always go with the pet signal. I use that extra 3 seconds, but I'm not really sure what I think the lad's a little squishy
Yeah.
on that. Yeah.
All right, well, I think that one answers that. 30th and Amazon Parkway / Hilliard. This one just said LPI. I'm assuming it's all legs that the LPI was requested for. Yep. Fourth one up.
I might pull this one up because I'm having trouble visualizing.
Natasha, what's your question for this one?
The bullet point just said LPI, and I'm assuming it was LPI for all crosswalks. It wasn't very clarified.
Oh, whether it's across Amazon or across
Yeah,
Hilliard?
it's LPI.
Who put this one on the list?
Do you know if there's any LPI in this, at this intersection right now?
Not currently.
Not currently.
I mean, I would think I don't use this intersection really, because I'm always
It's a
going.
long
under.
cross, yeah.
But
I didn't put that one on there, but if there's ever 4 lanes in any direction, I'm saying there should be an LPI in every direction, and that's why I would appreciate some sort of guidance or policy. I'm not
Right.
the expert on that, but like, it's a farther distance to cross and with a lot of turning conflicts, and it stands to reason that it would be
Yeah.
safer if you could.
I also
Get into the
feel like
intersection.
there is a lot of pedestrian traffic on this crossing
Yeah, that's the
here
most.
because of the grocery store. from the like parks and neighborhoods to the grocery store, and there's a lot of turning movements happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
From 30th and Amazon Parkway on and off Hilliard, so
That's
that
definitely the busiest.
that one probably, I feel like would benefit the most from an
And
LPI.
then there's the RFB like farther up from people coming this way that maybe.
That is an intersection where all four, or at least three of the four get used a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think we probably have counts I know we don't have counts of pedestrians to know exactly where, but I think just from observation. And then the length of this, the LPI can help get people across.
This is the Albertsons parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep, yeah, this one's another one that's frustrating to cross also because of that same thing, Willamette, it's when I cross this diagonally quite frequently. You cross one side, then you have to wait another. Like you have to wait twice and push buttons, and you have to there's a long wait in between the crossing if you're trying to go from one corner to the other. That sounds like maybe a more complicated timing issue.
Yeah. Cause we had 2 bullet points for this intersection. What was the other thing
Other one was a protected right turn.
red right turn arrow during ped
And I'm gonna have to let you guys down on that one.
That could be like a long-term.
If an expensive infrastructural thing, yeah.
Mhm.
So nothing you can do about that, man. Yeah.
Not at the
Currently.
moment, not with the current configuration,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Hello, if you could humor me by going to the bottom of this memo.
Go to down the bottom.
Yeah, I just uploaded the picture.
Oh, is there a photo?
Yeah.
Oh,
This was the PBOT solution to
Huh.
getting LPIs to work for bikes. I don't know if it's an ACTO or MUTCD approved, because Portland doesn't always follow the MUTCD, but this is what they did.
okay. I feel like I've seen that in other places too, but yeah, I don't know if it's MUTC. Oh yeah, we just have that. I like how that's just tacked onto the end of this memo.
I just put that there right now.
Oh, you just put it in?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think the last bullet point was to extend the pedestrian intervals for a few crossings. And I double checked those because we calculate them for 3.5 feet per second to cross. We are compliant with all of those. There's more tiny to be added.
That was you? That was Holland.
Are those LPIs?
I noticed. No. One. Yes. No. Seven. No. Thing. No. And a lot. Longer.
When on 7th, the signal's a lot longer.
I'm not. West. Side.
On the west side. On 7th, the signal's a lot longer on the west side.
No.
In the crosswalk.
Is that at a particular intersection?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
Garfield,
7th
okay.
and Garfield.
Yeah.
So overall, Hollis, you feel like the amount of time to cross is too short at these intersections?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't need, there's another nerdy term, any oversized peds.
Sorry?
Where the calculation for like pedestrian cycle is actually slightly longer than it's needs to be for compliance versus the car cycle. There's been some research on like safe waves
We
in
do that
Boston, it's like pretty
In the
rad.
downtown area,
That
but not necessarily anywhere else.
makes sense too. Well, and also I guess it works. So in the downtown area, remember. And also, I guess it depends whether there's, whether it's recall or on demand or
Yeah.
whatever, but, any event, these would be interesting things to, I guess my main question is like how we calculate demand and what, like, yeah, back to maybe us discussing like some sort of policy and just like how we make these decisions, just make it be easier for all of us, really.
Right.
And yeah, there's been some really like compelling evidence you can actually like that messing with your signal timing to slow cars down a little bit is like one of the most economically efficient ways to like save the to do that, to slow cars down versus like we can't build speed bumps or even like police enforcement. There was a burst of enforcement recently, which is actually really expensive compared to programming some signals and just makes people angry with the police sometimes. I mean, right now, this group's probably happy with them, but and it's not even as effective like it happens when it happens in bursts. But you guys do a lot of cool things already, but knowing like what our like systemic choices are and what they're based on would be really helpful, because it seems like there's some system-wide things that can be done, especially like in light of people being killed on like 99, which would be a potential example. And also where you end up potentially like saving people. What we were talking about earlier, the differential for a pedestrian crossing an intersection, you can save like 30 seconds or 20, you know, a lot more time versus only adding 2 seconds to the cars.
Right.
And so these things are like very, very compelling and interesting. Some of us have been geeking out a little bit. And be like, do this more like also, how do we do this already? And do we, and why don't we have some sort of policy? And could we help establish something that's more system-wide?
You're all for policies. We should
Or
push
guidelines,
them, yes.
internal
guidelines.
guidelines.
Yeah.
And you said we're doing this downtown. Can you describe like
Yeah.
what this is? Like
Oh,
what?
extending the pedestrian walk time?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and what he was talking about with like the speed management using signal timing, is that what you're referring to
kind of
as
both.
well? Okay.
They go hand in hand, actually.
So let's say 6th and 7th, Olive and East. Those are really cluster of intersections that are signaled for, or the coordination is signed for 20 miles an hour. That's how much a vehicle should be going to hit the green every time. While it's doing that, we have it holding that main line, and that main line also holds that block for a longer amount of time than it's necessary. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is what we are already doing. That works because it's already in coordination, and coordination allows us to hold that walk a lot longer. Right. Once we go into intersections that are running by themselves, that kind of goes out of the water.
Where does it stop?
She said Olive,
Oh,
So, like,
just all.
downtown to Olive, but then west
'cause
of
that's-
Olive, is that still the case, or it starts to change west
That's
of
all
Olive?
right.
I believe it's, the speed limit is technically is what, 30 miles an hour? I believe the signals are still timed for 20. I'm not entirely sure. This was done before I became.
Yeah.
became a-
I mean, just really interesting to know.
But yeah, that is something we've done, and even though we've done that, you'll still see people running the red light on the main line because they're expecting their
Yeah.
light to turn.
The first bullet point we have is Blair at 6 and 7. Did,
Oh, yeah.
is that one that I feel like that one's kind of a tricky one. I'm curious if you've looked into that one or what.
Which one, to recall or to?
Yeah, to add recall or an LPI, or if either of those are on the table or what they look like. 'Cause I just know 6th and 7th in particular is like a tricky.
You have to wait a very long time with those signals.
Yeah.
Yeah, currently crossing for 6th and 7th, we're not recalling west of Olive yet. That's because we're kind of worried about queuing issues. We don't have those intersections pre-timed, so not every approach is getting that time right. Because of that, we're worried that if we give the side street time every time, that we're gonna cause some major queuing on the main line.
Mhm.
And then LPI. I gotta look into this one. I have implemented LPI. Olive and East again. Those ones, we could actually do it without kicking the thing out of coordination.
Mhm.
West of that, I was having a bit of difficulty getting enough time without putting the intersection into out of coordination. So we're still thinking of a way around that for now. We're trying to do it so at least in chunks, so it's consistent, instead of just having random intersections at LPI and ones that don't. So for now, everything east of Olive and East does LPI
Right.
crossing, and then everything west is still being decided.
Yeah, everything already used to.
Down here, Sue, and then Peter.
Just kind of following up on what John was asking, so several of us were reading about the difference between the green wave, which I think is kind of what we have on 6 and 7 now, and the safe wave, which is something they've done in Boston, where it's intentionally designed to slow speeds down, and part of it is, I think the interval between green lights is shorter, so you get smaller groups
yeah,
of cars
yeah.
going through, and they
That's a
get
major
stopped more
one.
often, so you can't just tail along behind this group of people and go down. And then there's some other pedestrian recall and that kind of stuff. But do we have the technology to do that, or not really, or what would be the obstacles to doing that?
We do to an extent. What I'm understanding from Safe Wave is kind of what 13th runs like, where it rests in red unless there's a vehicle there or a bike or
That's one of the strategies for sure.
but the only reason we're able to do that is because there's detection on the main line. We don't have that on 6 and 7. So we're guessing if there's vehicles or not there. And that's part of the issue, is we don't know how much time to allocate because we don't know who's there.
And that's why sometimes it's green and there's no one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just kind of standing there like, I could cross, nobody's coming.
Yeah, those are scary.
Uh,
But another, yeah, big one was this, they have a smaller length between cycles, which allows them to.
Peter?
Yeah, I know the policy subcommittee was interested in having a whole conversation just about 6 and 7 in the future, so we might be doing that. But for 6 and 7, does it have to run the same way all day? Or do you have the opportunity to do like this? Because right now the platoons are like really long, and I'm guessing that's for the PM peak. But like for the rest of the time, like, 6 and 7 don't need a green for 2 minutes to clear everyone. It needs to be like seconds.
So 6 and 7 run on 2 split times. One
Okay.
is a 90-second split time, which runs during the peak hours.
Okay.
And then 72 seconds is the other one that runs off peak.
Okay.
And then that one is pretty evenly split, 72 seconds for side street and main line.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it just feels so much longer because oftentimes 6 and 7 they're not lined up, so you do like 72 seconds of one and then 72 seconds of the other. But I guess, yeah, you've already kind of lined it up to try to make it as quick as possible if you're on a side street.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other, I have one other question.
oh, I
Hollis?
just got one.
Oh,
Ash has
go-
had
oh,
one
Ash.
for a while.
Let me go to Hollis and then to Ash.
Give me no ever and this is my yeah.
The sensor sees chair.
What was that again? I didn't hear
Does the
that.
sensor see his chair?
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like maybe the camera detection you were talking about at Onyx, for example.
So let me clarify on Onyx, because I think I lost you a little on that one. Onyx only detects bikes, and it's only if you're in the roadway.
Okay.
If you're a pedestrian, press the button.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
If you're riding High or 13th maybe. But I don't have any detection, any camera detection for
No.
pedestrians.
Hmm.
Do the
So if he's in the bike lane,
then the sensors on the road
Sensors on the road.
get at me.
Question, if the loops will pick up the chair.
Yeah. I wanna say the bike ones will, maybe the cars one as well. You got a lot of metal on you, so maybe.
What's your experience? Do you feel like when you go over the loop, it picks you up, or do you feel like you wait and wait until a car comes?
One. No way.
We're waiting.
Right. Um. uh,
Sometimes it picks you up.
depends on which one.
So I bet the ones that are tuned for bikes probably do. And is that true, or like the size of the loop? You can have different, like even if it's a big loop for cars, they can have different sensitivities,
Yes.
like the sensitivity can be turned up. So in areas where there's a lot of bike traffic, guessing the sensitivity is probably turned up a little bit to catch those
Yes,
bike riders.
yeah, I believe so. And
Yeah.
whenever we get complaints, we'll try and test it with our own bike and make sure it gets it.
Good.
Can you put eighth and mill on your loop? Cause I've been noticing that it stopped picking me up. It was detecting me in the last couple weeks. It hasn't been detecting me well. Going west on Eighth, like past the courthouse on Eighth where. Yeah, it was picking me up and recently it has stopped.
Lord, that sounds like a bad loop. That's worse.
Oh, yes, yes. Right, Carlson, I heard. Yeah, right.
Oh, Carl mentioned that too. Yeah.
Oh, at first I had a question, but I wanted to say that the change you guys made on Willamette had made it a lot easier to walk along. I walk.
Oh, the
along Willamette
recall?
a lot,
Yeah.
but yeah, so walking north to southbound is a lot easier to do legally than it was. It's talking
Okay.
out via my-
Mhm.
I just wanted to clarify something earlier about the length of the crosswalk. So you were saying downtown, it's by default, the crosswalks will last as long as the like corresponding green light, but outside of downtown, the default is for it to be kind of the
The calculated 3.5 feet per second, yeah.
So I'm just curious, because you know, on like Willamette, I have noticed like that the crosswalk will last like maybe 20 seconds-ish. And then the green light will sometimes continue on for, you know, like 30, 40 seconds. So if you arrive a little bit late to the green light, you still might have to wait a long time. So I was wondering, is that like a systems limitation or is that a policy to not just to have the
Willamette,
green light, just have the crosswalks just everywhere, just last? It seems like you could really make pedestrians delays a lot shorter without actually
So-
inconveniencing vehicles at all.
it comes down to how we run those intersections. And it's because we have them running to where it serves people as fast as it can.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, pedestrians get the short end of the stick on that. And cyclists as well, because it's really just looking for time to extend. So we don't let it sit in that phase. Now, there is a way to like, if there's no conflict, we can let it sit. It does come at a cost of like if emergency preemption wants to come through, they're gonna have to wait. But that's really it. It's the way that intersection is running compared to downtown.
So Peter and I got.
Do our infrared cameras detect skateboarders, rollerblades, all those other things?
These are thermal AI cameras. In theory, yes. They should.
If they're not, put in a request for service and let us know.
Okay, but in general, they
but
could,
yes, they should be.
He's getting to our next topic.
yes.
Great. And then the last one, I believe that you all got some money for upgrading the High Street signals. Is that right? Through the MPO? Or did that not?
Currently?
Yeah, or in the last MPO cycle?
Yeah, transportation planning applied for funding, but I don't think we've made that like, we haven't gotten the money yet.
Okay.
And we haven't made the like leap to like, okay, we have money now, what do we do?
Gotcha.
So TBD,
The money, all right.
yeah, but I
I'm
think.
going to
the-
ask you what you're planning to do with it, but.
I don't know
What
yet.
you do with it. Sounds like-
Plan was for us to get money to upgrade the high street signals to the same technology that 13th has, so that it can operate like 13th. So that's my understanding. But I'd have to talk to Rob to get like more nuanced information, yeah. Cause right now, some of the high street signals are, provide a really long wait, like for everyone.
Yeah.
And so if we could get them to be more on demand, cause they were more upgraded.
It seems like there are
then-
lots of potential things that could be done on. High Street
Yeah,
signals.
and like what happens on 13th is that you get 2 bites at the apple, so to speak,
Yeah,
where, and on High Street, you don't get that because of limitations to the signals. So if we can upgrade the signals, we can get more opportunities to get across for the bikeway. Yeah. So we got some money for that. Yeah.
Oh, she didn't even know. It's like, for you.
Getting money is,
ATC.
getting money is our job. You guys usually hopefully don't have to worry about getting money for things, so.
All right. Well, Natasha, thanks so much for coming for these clarifications. I appreciate the conversation about trying to come up with some kind of internal guidance about just where to do these, so we don't have to go around and do them one at a time. Though if you're amenable, I will probably keep collecting
Yeah.
specifics to run by you, because
It's helpful to have this conversation every meeting. I'm more than happy to show up.
Okay.
That's awesome.
yeah, so this is unbelievable. There's so much appreciated. Thank you.
I just, in the light of especially like Connie coming here, I think there's a lot of excitement about looking at how we can use signals to, especially with like a lot of effort in the city where people are like very mad about some recent pedestrian deaths. And they're inclined to, I mean, my ideal situation would be like, take a lane out. It's not gonna happen overnight, but you've shown us we can reprogram our signals overnight. So I think there's a lot of also benefit to the city being like, hey, here's something we can do right now.
Like an LPI or pedestrian
All these
recall or,
things.
yeah.
But no, I mean, a lot of the playing with signal timing at the intersections where we can, even on like 99, like the highways and the River Road and like places that are very, and are any 2-lane one way, that's, people die crossing it, anywhere you can do something to slow down cars. There's a lot of specifics, but I think there's a lot of potential there. And I think it's probably mutually beneficial to keep that going.
And it always helps to have input because I don't live in these areas, right? So I don't know what's going on over there. So it's really nice to have personal experiences to say, this is what's happening, this is what's changed. So it is really nice. So I appreciate your input as well.
Hey.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Doctor. I appreciate it. We're right on schedule.
Yeah, I love that we got.
I was watching the clock because I knew we could have kept talking signals.
I just love that we got extra
We would
time
have
for that.
continued, we would have continued. So the next item is actually an unhappy one, and I had to put on the agenda just because I thought something needed to be said. I knew Connie would speak to it as part of her presentation, but you know, with this recent bicyclist death on River Road, that brings to 3 cyclist deaths just this year so far, which ties the most for any entire year in recent recorded memory, and 4 within the past, I don't know, since August, less than 12 months. And I just wanted to give a chance to chat about it. Like, what is, like, it seems to me it's hitting the level of kind of a crisis, you know. It's really, people should feel like they can leave their houses and walk and bike somewhere and get there safely. And I've certainly already had conversations with people who are like, I'd love to bike more, but it seems kind of dangerous out there. And so if, you know, we're serious in this city about trying to encourage people to do something other than drive, we need to do something. We've got just a short 10-minute piece here, but I just wanted to throw that out. I've got a couple of announcements about things, relevant activities or events coming up next week. As Sue's doing, if you've got something you'd like to say, go ahead and tilt your sign up, but I'll turn it over to Sue.
Yeah, I just want to say this last one of David Morris kind of hit close because, you know, it's stupid, but every time you hear about that, a crash, you tend to think, oh, what were they doing? Oh, I never do that, so this couldn't happen to me, you know? And this one, David Morris is an incredibly experienced, skillful, safe cyclist. I know him from years. And while it's always possible that he made some mistake, it's really unlikely. And so it's like, what, 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning? It's like, so this one really hit close to home.
I don't know so much about some of what's happened with pedestrians, but all 4 cyclist deaths have happened either riding along or crossing a road that has 2 lanes going one direction, sometimes 4 lanes going both. And there's a theme here of where some attention needs to be focused. And I don't know, maybe we should have a role in focusing that attention.
Right. Well, I think for the last year, we have statistics for 2025, 100% of our fatal crashes were on our arterial network, which are pretty much all of our multi-lane roads. So it's definitely a factor, is the multi-lane roads are a significant factor in the risk for a street.
Also more crashes between cars, I would imagine.
Yeah, more crashes, but fewer fatalities in 2025 at least for motorists. Yeah.
And fatalities overall were slightly down in 2025 compared to
Significantly down from the previous year, but still above pre-COVID. Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily indicate a trend, one year. So we'll have to see sort of what this year brings. So far, it hasn't been going well, for bicycle deaths especially. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I guess it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of options. So like when we talk about, you know, why people aren't getting out and bicycling and these crashes happening on those major arterial roads, it's because there isn't anywhere else to go. So like just, you know, we live in the same area, but for my husband and I to go walk the Delta Ponds in the morning, we have to cross the street 3 times before we can get to the Delta Ponds. And we almost got hit last week in the morning because somebody was speeding too fast and wanted to turn right onto the freeway. And it's just like, there's no other way for us to get over there. So it's like, what are we supposed to do?
What road were you crossing?
Right at, yeah.
I figured that was it.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just scary. It's just like, everything is built for like, let's get cars moving as fast as we can around the city. But like, where do pedestrians and bicyclists go to stay safe if people are saying, well, get off the roads because, you know, they want to get somewhere fast? I don't know how we like think about what we were talking about with Terry Street and trying to get, you know, think bicycle first of like, how do we make that road friendly for bicyclists? And then, you know, think about cars second. We're always thinking cars first. So I don't know how to like reverse that in the way that we build the roads. No.
Josh and Nancy.
Okay. No, I think it's interesting. I mean, that has historically been our plan, but we have, as a city, theoretically approved a Vision Zero policy. So rather than cars or bicyclists, we should be thinking about not killing people. These streets also have a lot of car crashes between cars. They are just dangerous, period. And it turns out a lot of the same things we could do to stop killing. It's just when you hit a pedestrian, they're more likely to die because they're not in a metal box that has airbags. So to me, it's like, if that's, our applied thing is not cars versus people, it's like humanistic, that's just my idea. Like, it really should be the same thing. Also, I think signals are really promising, actually, I mean, in terms of the immediate future. And personally, I would say road diets is the term I learned for taking lanes out, but that's a long-term process, but those are my thoughts.
Nancy, then Carl, and then Alice.
Anybody who has paid attention to Vision Zero knows that when traffic is going 35, that the likelihood that someone who is not in a car, who is hit by a car, that they will be killed is like close to certainty. And a street like River Road either needs to have a lower speed limit or it needs to have protected lanes. And I don't see how a city with a commitment to serving everyone can take as long as they're taking to do one or the other on streets that are that busy. And that's the one where I live. I live right off of River Road. I go down that same stretch of road where David was hit by a driver who was driving very poorly and probably much faster than 35. And no one should be bicycling next to traffic going 35 without a protected lane. They should not. And I think that it's time that we just start implementing some of the things that we already know. And we can start reactively, the places where people have been killed, or we can start where there's a lot of pedestrians, but we need to set some kind of a commitment and get to work on it. It's just not acceptable.
I don't know if there's any data about if there's an increase in cycling now that gas prices are at, was it $5.30? I don't buy gasoline anymore, which is a privilege, definitely, but I do keep track because I think that actually I've always found that that is what incentivizes people to use non-automobile traffic. And going off, back off what Anthony said, that they're gonna need more protections. And I have found in my cycling lifetime, early on, it was like, hey, good job, you're doing good things for the environment to and work into. Why do you do that? It's so dangerous, and like you never do what you do, which is not the kind of stuff you want to hear when you're trying to promote cycling in the city. And like I said, going back to my early comment, I can see that we're going to have more people who are interested. And some of them are going to be out of necessity because driving will just become unaffordable. Last thing I want to say really quickly is, oh crap, I lost it just now. I'm going to stop there.
All right. Thank you. Alice, did you have something? I wasn't sure.
I'm good. I got my chair.
I drive my chair everywhere.
Life.
You've been hit twice,
I,
5 times.
Wow.
Holy cow.
yeah.
That is a bad data point.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. And
You drive.
be good. Well, but because sidewalk. Sad.
Did everyone follow
I
that?
think everyone followed.
I he often drives in the streets because sidewalks suck.
Sidewalks are
Yeah, understood. All right, real quickly, Sue and then Josh.
I was just gonna ask Willow, I know the whole moving ahead project, which was gonna add, protected bike lane and transit on River Road, got shot down by the neighborhood and it was very ugly and everything, but just anecdotally, it didn't seem like people objected to the protected bike lane very much. I think it was the transit lane that really made people go ballistic. So is there any thought of going back to just putting the protected bike lane in?
I was wondering if someone was gonna ask me, like, in light of the crash on River Road, what's happening on River Road? So we just had our kickoff meeting a couple weeks ago for we're calling it the River Road Multimodal Safety Plan. So we have funding and a consultant, and we're gonna be running community engagement and basically running community engagement, running traffic analysis, and making like concrete buildable plans for River Road. Like, we're done talking about what needs to happen on River Road. Like, we just need to get a plan, figure out what we're gonna build, and then apply for funding and build it. So that's what this project is. It's very specific. And at the end of this project, which I think should be like this time next year, we should have conceptual designs for what we think River Road should look like. I don't know what that is yet, because we have to do the process, but I don't think, like, protected bike lanes seem like a bit of a no-brainer. So I would imagine that that's definitely on the table. Yeah. So by this time next year, we should have like conceptual designs and an opportunity to apply for funding to really just start building this stuff so we can make River Road better.
Right.
Yeah.
We are gonna need to wrap up here.
I didn't really wanna-
Are you good?
I just like Nancy's passion, everything she said, and also things like we know a lot of things that work. I think that's really important, and also that one thing that we need to do anyway, but does not really work, is just changing speed limits, which is not to say what I think you were implying, but changing speed limits does not work. It's not, when streets are wide and dangerous, people drive fast on them. When they have enough space to drive fast, they will drive fast, which is why other things are much more important. And anyway,
Yeah.
and we know that, but which isn't to say you shouldn't lower the speed limit.
Yeah.
Well,
It works a little bit.
lower the speed limit is an engineering and traffic
Bingo.
signal
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah. Lower the driving
Right.
speed.
Everyone thank you for the input. This is helpful. I think the capital project subcommittee at least will take this up as our next conversation. I did want to say, coming up next Wednesday, there are 3 things going on I wanted you all to be aware of. First of all, at 9 o'clock in the morning at Rosetta Place Park, which is just off River Road, there's going to be a news conference with the mayor, Rob Zako from Best, and other people that's specifically going to address the most recent fatality on River Road, but in the context of everything else that's been going on. And we're invited as ATC, or we're just invited individually to go. I thought I'd offer to meet it. If anyone wants, I'll bike over there myself, and if anyone wants to bike with me, I'll just show up at Kesey Square at 8:30 in the morning. If you're starting from this part of town, if you're already out on River Road, obviously you don't need that. But 8:30 bike out to the Rosetta Place Park, and I encourage everyone to come up. They really won't. They feel like the impact of the news conference will be heightened by having a lot of people there. So they're trying to get folks to turn out for this. So everyone in the audience too, you're all invited and should come if you can. Really hoping for a large crowd. Do you have something?
I'm not interrupting you.
Okay.
Just wait.
Second thing, 2 other things going on that night that they're related. These last 2 accidents in particular, I think, have really galvanized a lot of concern and a lot of groups that haven't necessarily been involved. And at 5:30 p.m. also on Wednesday, May 20th, over on Patterson between 19th and the 20th and 23rd, there's going to be U of O Association of Students and the Graduate Teachers Fellow, GTFF. Does anyone know what that stands for?
Teaching fellows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Graduate Teaching Fellows are gathering to install some signs and so forth to call attention to the crash that happened there. And then at 6, there's going to be a celebration of life group ride, leaving from Spencer View Apartments, which is right there at 22nd, 23rd. To bike down to the Riverfront Park, and that's to memorialize all the recent traffic fatalities. And so that bike ride starts off at 6. And so you're all invited to all of these things. I encourage you to come if you can. And with that, I think it's time for a break, though Nancy has something to say in 5 seconds.
I have something to say in 5 seconds, which is all of the talk about additional community engagement for the River Road project. I can tell you that a lot of people that I talk to in my own neighborhood feel like they've had a lot of community engagement. And that this committee, ATC, is a place that represents people. And we represent people to the staff of the city. And I think that would be really great if we came up with some kind of a strong statement about lowering car speeds, not lowering speed limits, and some of the things that we've been saying. I think it would be useful. And I think that saying that this is community engagement and pointing out that this has been going on and that we've been working with the city it might even be a tiny bit helpful.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nancy.
We're a little behind. Take 4 minutes.
I gave a lot of space, a lot of space.
I knew there was another word here.
If we have it, but we can also short.
Just bus lanes
Like
right
the
there.
Emoto stuff I could.
And I think Charlie's
Currently right turn lanes there.
You know, announcements
Wanna
really
have
personally.
bus and
Those
turn
sounded
lane.
like announcements
And then
and
we
share outs.
Yeah.
The other
you're
thing's
saying-
crosswalks,
We have-
and something,
we have 10
all these
minutes to figure out.
crosswalks. So that every single bus stop has a
Next subcommittees, are we
Things and
gonna
then
share
the
anything?
details are fuzzy of like
We just did.
whether this all gets dropped lane between
Yeah.
Maxwell and South.
Right, we'll have.
Very likely that
I've shared out
now
now.
replace it either with super wide bike lane athletics. But the goal is to get rid of them.
Well, it makes you wonder if there's a striped bus wall. You have bus 4 lanes. Yeah, this guy stops for.
I'm excited, but I.
Yeah, so that's the other thing I was talking to Reed, and they are way less interested in flashing yellow lights now. At any multi-lane crossing. On River Road, I mean, I've talked to 400 people now on River Road, so many of them are just like, the lights are flashing and no one stops. The only time people stop is when they have a red ticket, and that's, I think, if we're gonna have our crosswalk. Problem is just green, yellow, red signals are more expensive, and those are what actually gets people stopped. Yeah.
Give you
I
can make some.
Yeah, this is the plan for moving ahead that got adopted. This is. River Road, or MX didn't happen, so they
It's like
switched.
121.
Oh, excellent, Mark.
Interesting, River Road, I'm giving a big presentation on June first.
For the first time in my whole life, oh my back would have been lower.
That is what the road currently looks like in these spots. That there's turn lanes that they added.
So you can have.
So. This turn lane here. That turn lane there. You come up on the right turn lane. And then there's.
Being on my back.
But this.
People did like a lot more than one.
Or, yeah, right turning. I think that's the idea. You jump there. You jump.
Night or something.
Besides that, probably no bus lanes, unless
Oh, yeah. With McKinney
south of Maxwell.
Oh, so we're.
I was like,
Preliminary data that
Yeah.
I'm looking at.
My,
The city.
my,
South of
wife was out
Maxwell.
of town that weekend, so I just, the McKenzie River Trust thing came in, and it was like, oh, I'm always responsive. I'm just gonna do it right now, I don't have to wait and ask her whether she wants to go, I can just.
And then it's just like,
On my own.
deciding, what do we do with that space?
Well, I can get it, cause I often
Want it
go
to
to
be
sign
a
up for those
super wide
things.
bike lane.
3 days
bus
before,
lane,
and they
maybe a
get
little
full
bit
for like 3 weeks.
Super fair, yeah.
That's kind of the
Are
big
you going
question.
to the conference or what?
So I'm doing 2 of them, actually, I'm doing the confluence Meadows and I'm doing the one down by Narita, which I didn't even know there was, the Terra Gorda.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was, I didn't even know, Trump had something down there.
Weekend,
I am, I figured, you know. One hike a day during the weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Couple of beaver nights, these last couple of weeks, and
So
they said that they found out two different
biggest,
people
so
win.
when the recall happened in 2022, there were a couple.
I know, I was like, that's.
So you know the whole engineering planning world, right? So
One was in
um,
California.
it was
With
the
the
project federal
like
grant.
out there, but.
So
Yeah, they're with
wanted to get
abroad.
it first.
Like, they didn't fly here for that, they were, they didn't like. They were around here.
And those plans that they
Dude,
uploaded.
People love a
All starts again, included removing like 270 trails.
Interesting.
And that got leaked to the public.
Yeah, I was up on those too, but I don't wanna take a spot.
Because River Road,
But they do such a good job. Summer.
this also is happening right at the tail end of.
Yeah, but it's so hard to get out to, you know,
Right,
because these
when they're
areas
national
are closed to
plan
the general.
implemented in the entire city of Eugene.
I.
So those
I've
three
been on
things
the
combined.
conflict.
Storms, it kind of got directed toward what we call like clarification.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get my
And
spin
so
here.
with clarifying
We all kind of like it,
they
yeah.
dropped
Like
it
secret.
and replaced it.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, let's pull it back together. Grab a seat.
June 1st at the river.
Oh, no, why do you do this?
Yeah. we were-
All right. Well, I'm delighted that after this has been talked about for like since Josh joined the committee to take up this Eugene skateboards and or the skateboards in the Eugene code, and now we actually have a really helpful document looking at it. Take it away, policy committee, whoever wants to leave
No,
there.
that's Peter.
Okay.
I feel like 99%.
Josh inspired the idea and then I kind of ran with it. No one's in trouble, no one's gonna get an F, but like, could you raise your hand if you did read it? So I know. Either I need to start from the beginning. Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, so quick summary. Thank you guys for those who were able to read it. Right now, our skateboard law is you can skateboard on sidewalks. That's it. Which I don't know if you've been on Eugene's sidewalks recently, but it doesn't work very well with like 6-inch caster wheels for a wheelchair, let alone 2-inch skateboard wheels. And so people don't do that. People ride where it makes sense, which is in the street and in bike lanes. But currently you're not allowed to ride a skateboard in bike lanes, either, which we didn't think makes sense. And so luckily, City of Eugene staff has already looked at this issue, I think 2017, but don't quote me on that number.
2014.
2014.
It was ATC.
Oh.
Mhm.
The other important issue is you're not, certain parts of the downtown area and all there, and there are certain sections you're not allowed to ride a skateboard on the sidewalk, which means you're not allowed to ride it anywhere.
Yes, and there's also whole neighborhoods that don't have sidewalks.
Yeah.
And so where do you ride a skateboard in River Road? I guess you don't. And so yeah, a lot of issues with that. So City of Eugene has already looked at a bunch of cities, and I include that in Appendix A. Portland, Salem, Corvallis, and Ashland, and some of them have really complicated rules. And I was thinking like, okay, skateboarders aren't gonna be reading the code before they actually go out and skateboard. They're just gonna do what makes sense. And so I think what makes the most sense is just regulating skateboards and roller skates and rollerblades and all these other similar devices the same way as human powered bicycles. So you can ride it in the street, but you gotta kind of stay to the right, except for it's unsafe to stay to the right. And you can ride in bike lanes. And I think people will naturally not ride in stupid places. Like people aren't gonna ride a bike down 6th, people aren't gonna skateboard down 6th. And so I feel like we can just kind of regulate it very simply by just saying same rules apply. The one exception to that is lights. You can't really attach a front white light and a rear red light to a skateboard like that. Maybe you can, but that doesn't really make sense. So I copied, I think Portland's rules for that. No, Salem's rules for that, which is you can also wear like a high visibility garment or like, you know, maybe have a handheld like flashlight like your phone. As long as you have some sort of lighting, that would meet that requirement. I also talked to some skateboard advocates in Portland when I was down there for Oats, and they gave me the thumbs up of this makes sense. And they also affirmed that they never read Portland's laws either. When I told them Portland's laws, they're like, oh, that's cool. I mostly do that, I'm like, yeah, so that's the main thing, is trying to make it as intuitive as possible.
I will incriminate myself and say I have read them and broke them to get to this meeting. And that is how people will behave.
Yeah, and I'll remind you a question I asked earlier, our signals are already designed to detect skateboarders in the bike lanes because that makes sense to have skateboarders in the bike lanes. So it's kind of funny that we are expecting that, but technically by law, it's not allowed. How do people feel? Does someone like, does anyone prefer another city's code and thinks that should be the recommendation? Of your thoughts, opinions, or any questions you have?
I think simplicity is wonderful. I would love for it not to be illegal to skateboard on the sidewalk in these areas that is restricted. Those laws were written in like the 90s.
Yeah.
And there's already sections of law for like bicycles and stuff, or maybe it is the skateboard code. Also, it is the skateboard code where you like can't ride in a way that's like reckless and endangering to civilians or to pedestrians or whatever, and you have to yield to pedestrians or something. So if you have to do that, why don't you let people be adults? And they won't always be, but they won't be anyway. So why not have law that makes sense to how people would actually behave? Because like peak time of day, it makes no sense to ride a skateboard in the middle of downtown, like on a busy night when there's a lot of people there, but like I didn't see a person on the sidewalk on my route to get here where I rode largely on the sidewalk, but didn't encounter a pedestrian that I could have harmed, and only, you know, it was safer than being in the street. Yeah. So I think that's, you know, a relic of old times.
Are you talking about downtown, or are you talking about the Alder and 13th band?
Kind of talking about both, although around the university there's like constantly people there, but my main point is like people shouldn't be skating there anyway, and you can write that into the code without writing you're not allowed to, but more like you're not allowed to go get like run into people and ride too fast when you're anyway.
I think changing the downtown code would be probably a lot harder because there is also a ban on bicycles on sidewalks in downtown. So if we're trying to say skateboards follow the same rules as bicycles, and then there's a bicycle ban, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love your memo. I would not dispute it. I'm kind of more saying this as a but there's other things that, okay, for example, also, how many times have you gone to the library and you are on a bicycle and the bike racks are you're gonna ride all the way to your bike rack. That's how people are probably gonna do it.
Oh, I always respect the fact. Maybe
Anyway.
unusual.
Not to take too much time. I appreciate the simplicity. I think it makes the most sense in you have to write laws for as the best you can for how people are actually gonna follow.
So I don't see any other name tags, and we do have a little bit of time for this agenda item. Let's see if this is the right. Where is it? Steve Bade, who was on the ATC back in 2013 when they first brought up this topic, he saw that this was on the agenda tonight and he sent me an email with like historical context, which I thought was really helpful. And he talked about how it used to be called BPAC, the ATC back in that time. He talked about how they held an open house about skateboarding in downtown Eugene, and they had about 25 people attend, and 17 of them said yes, they think skateboards should be legal to ride on the streets, and 4 of them said no. People were supportive because they like a lot of stuff that's in the memo. It's an active transportation mode. It gives people more options. It should be similar to bikes. City streets in many cases are safer than sidewalks if you're going at speed, and are often in better condition. Also, the sidewalks should be maintained for like pedestrian foot traffic, and having those two uses is a bit of a conflict. Some reasons for opposition were the lighting, which I think you covered. Skateboards don't have brakes, which I think is one of the primary things we run into which is what Steve was saying when the ATC made a recommendation and then it came through transportation staff, and when it made it to EPD, they hit a pretty serious roadblock and it fell apart. EPD was pretty concerned about the fact that skateboards don't have brakes. So if you treat them like a bicycle, but they're a bit more of an unwieldy vehicle. So I think I think it could be worth putting something in the memo about just an argument around how skateboards have brakes, and same with like inline skates and rollerblades. Like, I'm not sure what the argument is, but just to think about that and come up with something where we feel like we could defend why maybe those other cities that pass code have some language that they used or something to convince their police departments on like, this is still a safe option, even though these operate differently. I think the HB 4007 that just passed as well, that looks at micromobility. Electric skateboards are now legal and treated the same as bicycles. So electric skateboards are here, bicycles are here, e-bikes are here, but then skateboards are down here. And it's just kind of like a weird blank space. So
Good to point out.
and so that might be worth pointing out, as well as like, if this is all coming into line in the law, we should probably just bring this one. So those were a couple things that had.
Well, one bill. We,
What about wheelchairs?
What about wheelchairs? As far as the
I
laws,
feel I thought it was unlike a bike.
You like a bike?
Is that right? Is that right?
yeah, wheelchairs and mobility devices kind of get to be both. So you can, legally, you can operate using pedestrian laws or bicycle laws, but I do think the one limitation for wheelchairs and mobility devices is any street that's over 35 miles per hour.
I never.
Yeah, not supposed to be in the travel lane.
No way.
You don't wanna be in that travel lane.
It's like, a bicycle technically can take the travel lane on a high-speed road, but there's in the law for whatever reason. But I think that's for safety, yeah. But otherwise, yeah, mobility devices are treated the same as bikes or pedestrians, depending on what use you're using.
All right, Ash.
No, I just wondering, the thing about the brakes, my first reaction to that is to think, well, if they're regulated like bikes, if the concern is them like not being able to stop, that's already a regulation, right? You're supposed to stop when you're supposed to stop, so it seems like it's already kind of covered by them. So I'm not like actually sure how we would respond to that. Do you know, like, I don't know if there's any more flavor around like that objection.
Yeah.
Also, like, bikes may not have brakes.
Right.
There are plenty of people riding their bikes.
Dragging their feet.
I would say as a skateboarder, I have brakes, it's called the bottom of my foot, or a power slide you may be. You may not be aware of this technology. I would say the only place it's different, it is easier to perhaps stop a bike going down a hill really fast, which some skateboarders will do and some won't. And I don't think the law is gonna solve that problem, and most of our city is actually very flat, which makes it like very appropriate to regulate it. Cause I actually am liable to ride slower than most things, cause you can only push so fast on flat. And
Well, I think the key is, though, it sounds like this earlier effort fell apart because EPD basically stopped it.
That's my understanding.
And so, regardless of how sensible skateboarders see it, we still have to persuade.
It needs to be addressed.
Yeah, it needs to be, like, EPD needs to, there needs to be something advanced that's going to overcome that objection.
when was
in-
that?
So it's like about 12 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
So Josh, was that your comment? I'm ready to go on to Nancy here.
Yeah, but bringing up EPD as a whole, they're can of worms.
I feel like something sensible and simple and putting it out there makes more sense than trying to anticipate what EPD is gonna say this time. Let's just do it and see what happens, because this is sensible. The main reason that skateboarders aren't gonna do the stuff that there's no need to regulate. They are very vulnerable street users. And that all the stuff that Josh has said.
Yeah, I feel like it might weaken it if we say something like, yeah, but we realize they don't have brakes and it's kind of dangerous, but it's gonna be fine. Yeah, I don't, yeah.
I
agree.
say, I say leave it out and see what happens and deal with it if it comes up again.
That's why it does seem like it couldn't hurt to ask the question to folks in Portland or wherever, you know, has this objection come up and how do you all respond to it? I mean, the research to know how to respond seems worthwhile, regardless of whether or not the memo changes.
Mhm.
And with 12 years having passed, like,
Turnover at EPD,
Different
yeah, there's no way to really know how they feel about it this time around, so
Yeah.
I hear that.
The main thing I wanna focus on here is like, I don't wanna focus on the not have brakes. It's like, okay, what is the results of not having brakes? If not having brakes means you blow through a stop sign, that's breaking a law. If not having brakes means you fail to yield to someone, you're breaking the law. And so like, I feel like the issue is not yielding. The issue is blowing through a stop sign. So I don't know if we, need to get into the nitpicky like you're saying, Nancy.
So are you all looking for approval of this memo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so did we agree to any changes? There was two things you said, the brakes and where's one other thing?
So there was a question about wheelchairs. I know electric wheelchairs are covered over state law. Do we need any changes for manual wheelchairs and their ability to use like 13th if they needed to or anything?
I don't think so, no.
I think
Yeah.
this memo is about skateboards anyway, like I said.
Yeah.
It opens chapter 9.
Yeah, it's about skateboards, rollerblades, roller skates, non-electric scooters, and similar devices. Do we need to include non-electric wheelchairs to the list?
No,
Okay.
no, wheelchairs are already covered, yeah, as like a flexible, mode.
Yeah, and so for the skateboard don't have brakes argument, should we add that as a Q&A or should we just not include it?
I don't know.
I don't think it's just not.
Don't mention it?
I think don't
I
talk
would say
about
be
that.
prepared to try to address the question if it comes up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well,
Sounds fine.
don't.
yeah.
Carl, you have something?
Yeah, I just wanna compliment the policy committee for doing a great job on this and as a cyclist and also as a driver too, I don't, skateboards have not gotten my way. And they were already in the bike lanes for me, so and they seem fine. And I appreciate you thinking ahead about evening stuff, so I'd be in support of approving as is. In fact, if there's no more discussion, I know there's more discussion. I move to approve to move this forward as is.
Is there a second?
Second.
2 seconds. All right, any other discussion? I would have just mentioned, I do occasionally see skateboarders like bombing down Fox Hollow middle lane, and I have no idea how they're gonna stop, but anyway. That's nothing to do with you.
Our next topic is like e-bike non-compliance on the speed. You're gonna get non-compliance in everything. Why should the rest of us have to?
All in favor? All right, any opposed? Nope, seeing none. All right,
So if I may add one more comment, I know this might be more of a city council issue than a city staff thing, so if any best people are particularly interested in talking outside of active transportation committee, please let me know.
Yeah, what this does require is opening the code chapter, and that is like a whole process. It's not just something that staff can be like, yeah, sounds good, we'll just change it. So this is sort of a first step. And you'll send it to me, and then me and Shane will sit down and figure out like, how do we sort of push it on to the next level? And we may have to come back to you and talk about where it might land in the advocacy realm versus where it might land in just like the sort of administrative process, which ATC is more involved in, so.
I wonder if Councilor Jennifer Ye might be interested.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who.
Started on that.
I don't know anyone who might have an inside eye on that.
all right. Well,
See what I can do.
Sorry.
congratulations, policy committee, on getting this. Be sure to add it to the Google Drive, the document on the Google Drive and the tracking spreadsheet, so we keep track of it.
Can staff push things to council or does council have to ask staff?
No, we can push things to council. Yeah.
So it can, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can be like, hey, can we talk about this at council? And sometimes it can take a really long time, because they are super busy and they get booked, like they book out their work sessions and their council sessions really far in advance. But like, we can definitely make that request and start that process. Yeah.
Copy patient.
Yeah.
And like, as with Carl, I was impressed with the memo. I did think you had done all that research for the other cities yourself. I didn't realize that was just a cut and paste job, so, but that's cool. Glad with that. I was super impressed that you've done all that work.
Yeah.
All right, next topic is the Emoto and Path Speed campaign. And Willow's here. Willow sent out a 3-page memo, or 3-page policy document. Josh didn't read it. I can tell from his guilty expression over there. Hopefully everyone else did. Willow, take it away. Let us know what was really important in here. For those who didn't read it.
So I recognize there were 3 documents attached to the ATC email this time, which was a lot. So if you didn't get a chance to read this, that is okay. This is essentially like a communications strategy for addressing emotos and speeding on the path system. The path system to start, that's kind of the highest profile area, but also, you know, on the protected bikeways and regular bike lanes as well. Emotos are not allowed there. Emotos are also not allowed just in the street at all. Emotos are unregistered motorized vehicles, which makes them the same as a dirt bike or a mini motorcycle. They're good for private property or OHV trails. I have a little 60cc mini dirt bike and I ride that on private property and OHV trails. I don't ride it on the river path or in the city streets because that's not what it's for. So emotos would fall in that same category. So staff have been receiving a lot of complaints about electric motorcycles and speeding on the paths. A lot of people call them like e-bikes. A lot of people are like, there's a lot of e-bike speeding. I think there's an element to this campaign that looks at educating people on what is an electric motorcycle versus an electric bike. I think that's a really big part of what we need to do. I think there's a lot of Eugene residents who have purchased an e-moto thinking it was an e-bike, because there's a lot of misleading marketing and imposter vehicles being sold, especially online, but in the early days of electric mobility, also at the bike shops in town. That seems to have calmed down a lot because I think the bike shops really want bicycles to be successful in Eugene and they're not trying to proliferate electric motorcycles across our city. So that's really good. They're good partners, but the online retailers are definitely selling electric motorcycles listed as e-bikes. So that's a big problem that we have. So anyway, that's sort of the context. Staff are hearing a lot about it. Park staff feel like this is probably the second biggest complaint influx they've had. Like some people are like, I've worked at the city for 20 years and emotos feels like the biggest thing that I've had besides camping in the parks. So like camping in the parks has been the #1 thing, and then emotos has sort of cropped up as this like second really big issue that people are having. So myself and Shane, who you all have met, who's the transportation options coordinator in transportation planning. And then Kelly and Jake, they're 2 staff people for parks, they're communications folks. And then Sergeant Peckles, who runs the like parks enforcement, all sat down at a meeting and talked about this, and that's where this communications campaign came out of. So it is informed by EPD, parks folks, and transportation planning folks. So I've got some key messages and laws on here. These are the things that we're trying to tell people. This would be a good first place to get feedback. Oh yeah, I can zoom in. Sorry, this is kind of small. Feel free to stand closer, but I can also zoom us in a bit so that it's not so small. Do these key messages and laws feel like they make sense? Like they would resonate? Is anything confusing or misleading? That's kind of my question to start.
While people are pondering that, I'll just say, I'm not surprised you're getting so many complaints about this. This is like the one thing where I've had random people stop me on the sidewalk and complain to me, even though I have nothing to do with their problem other than I happen to be biking by when someone had just irritated them about, bombing by them on a fast e-bike. So, and that's happened to me more than once. And it's obviously a huge issue.
Mhm.
I was just wondering if, before you get into all the nitty gritty of it,
Mhm.
maybe you just start with, if it's got a throttle and it goes over 20 miles an hour, it's illegal on our streets and paths.
Mhm.
End of story.
Mhm.
And then you can go into all the explanations of what, the different categories and where and when and all that stuff.
Okay, so thinking about like the hierarchy of these key messages, you kind of feel like that is sort of like our primary message, like if your bike goes 20 miles per hour, over 20 miles per hour with a throttle, it is illegal, like on our streets, on our paths, on the bike lanes, period. Like that's kind of our key message. Does that feel like that would make sense to people? Yeah.
Just like the, if you aren't using your foot to stop your, skateboard at a stop sign, you're breaking the law. I think that starting at the top with the speed limit is 20, no exceptions. And when others are present, and then the third one is the e-motors, because I think that everybody, whether they've got the wrong vehicle or not,
Yeah,
could slow down.
right. And that's why this is like
Yeah.
e-motos and path speed campaign, because it's like e-motos are one thing, the illegal vehicles, overpowered. But then there's the path speed, which applies to, in some cases, legal vehicles. People are still just being disrespectful and
But
going too
it,
fast.
it might be that you would need to have that top piece, that these are the laws for how, this is the regulations, and this is how fast you can go. And then have like a heading of some kind, e-motos versus e-bikes.
Mhm.
What's an illegal motorized bicycle or
Mhm.
something like that? So that you have these two things at the top, because that is, everybody on the path yells at people going too fast, going over 20.
Mhm.
And then before that, beyond that is that it's just too easy to speed for these people who have motorcycles.
Mhm. And I think you make a good point about everybody yelling at people going too fast. I think right now there's a lot of, I think people don't understand what the law is, and so they don't know if they have the authority to be like, you can't do that here. And I think if we can do that education so that everyone can kind of get on the same page on like, that's not allowed here, then we can have like, maybe even like a peer pressure-y enforcement happening as well. Cause like, if I were to ride that mini dirt bike I have, people would yell at me, right? Because they know that that's not allowed. But if you're on like a super fast e-moto, if people are unsure, then it
Well,
can,
mostly they're just scared.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also that.
I appreciate this also talks about speed. I got yelled at for riding too fast when I was riding a Peace Health bike, so.
No way.
It can be any device, I'm
Lots of
sorry.
steel if you're going that fast.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, for audiences, I can think a fourth audience might be good. You mentioned bike shops being with the program. I
Mm.
can think of one on Broadway and Pearl that is very much not on the e-moto banning program. I test rode a e-vehicle that went 45 miles per hour there once. It was a scooter, but they also sell e-motos.
Mhm.
So
Is that Electric Avenue or what used to be?
they've renamed 3 times.
I think they're
don't-
Mock Wheel now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mock Wheel has e-motos.
Okay, so.
Yes. Bike shop
bicycle
might.
shop.
They are the only one that I think really specialized in those kind of bikes from back when they were Electric Avenue anyway.
Uh-huh.
You know, also, I think another audience is the general public. Because being a recipient of a lot of conversation, because I'm kind of high profile in my community. The more people who know that there's a difference between these kinds of vehicles and know what the rules are in the general public, the better.
Okay. For those of you who didn't read this, I had kind of identified 3 primary audiences. There's the unaware legal riders. Those are the people who like bought an e-moto, they're going really fast, they're having a great time. They don't know that that's an illegal vehicle, they shouldn't be riding it. So that's the first audience. The second audience is knowing violators. These are people who, they know they're not supposed to be doing that. They're brapping and having a great time anyway. Those are the ones who probably the enforcement is gonna be really important because education's not gonna stop them, they already know. And And then the third audience is too fast of riders. So those are people who are riding a legal vehicle, like a Peace Health Rides bike, for example. But they're still going too fast. So that might also be enforcement as well. Like if you're on a, say, super slick road bike and you're going 30, which is totally possible, and there's an enforcement opportunity to clock you and be like, you know, you can't go that fast. That could be an option, but.
Branding idea. Too fast riders might just be people in a hurry.
Don't hurry. And then sounds like bicycle shops. I might make a different strategy for bicycle shops as well. Because it's a bit of a different relationship. So I'll think on that a little bit. And then general public, of course. Okay, let's get into some strategies. So education and communications is the first thing that we start with. It's like you don't want to enforce something if you haven't told people they can't do it yet. So we start with education and communications. We're planning on making a long form video that's more like this size, YouTube, about 2 minutes, that really gets into like what's allowed, what's not allowed. It's got a police officer with the uniform and they're like, it is wrong. And then we'll make, so that's more of a serious and official tone. We're planning to make some short form videos that's more of this style, shorter, 30-second, slightly friendlier tone, but still like not as friendly as our path etiquette campaign. So if anyone was around, 2022, 2023, 2024, we ran the path etiquette campaign and that was super friendly. It's like these cute little icons and it's like dog on short leash, 12 miles per hour. Yay, paths. So this will be sort of an in-between. It's like, okay, don't go that fast, you guys, come on. And then there's the like, you're breaking the law, we're gonna take your vehicle and give you a ticket. So those are the videos we're planning to make. We're gonna make some info cards for tabling. I think that's kind of what you were talking about, Nancy, with like, just like something that's like, what's an e-bike, what's an e-moto, what's the difference? That's like a physical thing that we can use at events or tabling. I had the idea of creating some like various ones, like buyer beware, don't purchase an imposter vehicle, purchase an e-bike. So to help people know what they're buying. Whoops, you accidentally bought an e-moto, now what? So that's for the people who didn't know they bought an electric motorcycle. What should they do? Unfortunately, there's no like buyback program or anything, so it's like you didn't buy the right thing. Like sell it to someone who can ride it on private property, get an e-bike instead, ride it on private property, ride it on OHV trails, ride it anyway and risk being cited or having your vehicle.
Don't even put that down.
That one is on there because it's kind of in my mind as like something that people are still going to do. So I want to keep it to like remember, but I'll make a note here, perhaps not public facing.
Yeah, really, the staff of the city of Eugene suggesting you should break the law and take your chances.
I feel like that allows you to add that threat of cited, fined, and impounded, like that is.
Yeah, there's a piece where I'm like, where
Consequences could
the
be.
consequences are there, right? So it's like, if you decide to ride this anyway, what are the consequences? So that it might not be like an option. It might be like,
Right, it's a different bullet.
yeah, different bullet point.
Not in that set of bullets.
I also had the idea of making bike hangers. So these are like door hangers, but you could put them on parked vehicles. One that's like, nice e-bike. Did you know the speed limit's 20? And that could get at those like just too fast riders who are riding legal vehicles. And then for the very obviously e-motos, the ones that don't even have pedals, for example, if you see them locked up to a bike rack, we could put this looks like an e-moto. This is not allowed on city streets and it's parked at a bike rack. So you got it here somehow. So take it home and don't do that again, sort of thing.
Sorry,
yeah.
Never mind. No, it's coming.
Okay.
It would be
Once I get some drafts made for these things, that can be something I can share as well to be like, hey, here's the draft door hanger. What do you guys think of this? Is it looking like it's headed in the right direction? News release, I think the news is already picking up on this a bit and they've been running stories. They're going to be interviewing Sergeant Peckles tomorrow. One of the news organizations reached out. So that's sort of already happening, but we're going to keep that conversation going and then working with our partners. So that's sort of the communications campaign. Any thoughts on that? Sound like yeah.
In terms of educating the unaware illegal riders, I don't know how many of these devices have speedometers on them. I think we talked a long time ago about like maybe some option to do like the little path side signs that tell you how fast you're going. I find those compelling as a motorist when I come across those. I feel like there may be a lot of people that would.
Yeah, the
It's knowing how fast you're going. I have no idea how fast I'm going when I'm biking.
The cops are getting a couple more, they said, but not for bikes specifically, for cars.
well,
I think they're pretty expensive.
they're called speed feedback signs, and you can install permanent ones, and then EPD also has speed feedback trailers that they can move around town,
Yeah.
and I don't know if those would be able to pick up bike speeds. That might be something that they could tune to be more sensitive if they put it in a bicycle area, so that's something we can, as we're going through this process, check with them on and see if that's an option. So,
I would
That's
just be hyper aware of where that is, cause I feel like I know lots of people that would speed up to clock. So honestly,
Oh, God.
I do think
Yeah, that's a point,
I
yeah.
could imagine lots of people being like, well, let's see if we can get to 35.
so we have found that even in the cars, those speed
Yeah.
feedback signs. So what we do is we show the speed up to the speed limit, and then once you hit the speed limit, it just flashes slow down. So that it can't like, you can't like try and get to 60 to see if you can, yeah, so that's been our workaround, is to get it to flash slow down instead of
I
showing.
think that kind of thing on the greenway would be.
I don't know, Anya makes a pretty good point, 'cause honestly, clocking up to 20 on your bike is still pretty impressive.
Yeah,
20 on a non-assisted bike is pretty fast.
yeah, we'll see, maybe we put it to 15 and it says slow down, or maybe they're like, we can't put those on the path, I don't know, so something we'll ask about. Okay. Path signage, Parks right now is working on a no e-moto sign, so most of the parks, like when you enter the park, there's usually a park rules sign. It says no motorized vehicles on the park rules sign, but I think that's where a lot of people are misunderstanding. They don't think they're riding a motorized
Yeah.
vehicle. They think they're riding a bicycle, and so that's where that education needs to happen, and I think saying no e-motos will help clarify, and then in conjunction with our communications campaign, we can hopefully start to make people realize that they're riding illegal devices that are not allowed, and they will be facing enforcement actions, hopefully over time.
You're talking about it would just be in that list of rules.
I think it would probably be a separate thing based on the level of concern that's in the community. Perhaps they wouldn't have to be there forever, if we can bring compliance into line. Yeah. We also have really friendly speed signs on the paths right now. There are path etiquette signs, so they're in blue. They have the little happy icons. They don't look regulatory. So we're also thinking about creating 20-mile-per-hour speed signs, like ones that look regulatory, and having those potentially in strategic locations that would make sense, so that if they do get pulled over, you know, the EPD can be like, you passed a 20-mile-per-hour sign, like, you know, like that was there and you disregarded it. Whereas right now, they wouldn't really have a sign to point to other than park rules that are in like a book. So that's something that we're looking at as well.
That seems very important to me, I don't know. That was what I
That
was
feels
thinking
like,
about.
that feels like a big yes.
Pretty like a big, yeah, to me,
Okay.
like you're riding to the park, how do you even think about your speed?
Right.
Realistically, is EPD and a staff clocking speeds on the bike paths? I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore that.
I know, the problem with clocking speeds on the bike path is someone flies by you at 25, how do you chase them down? Like, like, what does that look like, right? Like, you're on your EPD and you're on your bike and you're going after them, like, we're not really sure what the strategy is gonna look like, and I don't think chasing people down on their bikes is very realistic.
Oh, they're dangerous.
And
That's-
dangerous, yeah, and now you're in like a high-speed chase, I don't know. It just sounds like we still have things to figure out with what enforcement would actually look like, I think.
Radio guy down the trail, right?
Potentially, or as we get further down, there's a e-bike checkpoint, that event that we're thinking of running.
Oh, that'd be great.
So I can talk about that as we get further down. I think I'm
Yeah, we're
probably
gonna,
taking kind of a
running out
long
of time, but
time.
real quick, Nancy, what, did you have something?
Oh, no, that's okay.
All right, Liz, did you have a question? You were.
Well, That 12 is the top speed.
Oh,
When
when others are present.
only.
That's what you thought. That's his question.
Okay. Can you repeat the question for me?
He thought 12 was the speed limit, not 20.
Gotcha, okay. 20 is the speed limit that's in the park handbook. 12 miles per hour is a suggested speed when others are around and it is not enforceable. So that's where we're like, that's kind of tricky, right? Like the 12 miles per hour is not enforceable. It's more of a suggested speed to be a polite and pleasant community member. 20 miles per hour is the enforceable speed. Yeah. Okay, so strategic enforcement, we're talking with EPD. We have this first bullet point. EPD will use discretion on how best to do enforcement. It's kind of up to them on how they want to do it. But we do have this possible e-bike checkpoint idea, which would basically be we put cones out and anyone on a powered device is required to pull over and talk to us. They can turn around and bike away if they want to, but even that is enforcement kind of, like them seeing uniformed officers out there and seeing that being like, oh shoot, like that is a piece of what would work. And I think anyone who's in compliance, which I would imagine would be most folks, would be like, oh, hey, reminder, this is the speed, you're doing great, thanks for being a great community member. And anyone who happens to try and get through that checkpoint on an e-moto, we'd be able to have a conversation with and be like, you're not allowed to ride that.
You're gonna go against, for those who don't know they're riding illegally.
Exactly. They don't, and they just roll right into this checkpoint, no clue that they're on an illegal vehicle, that we can have a conversation with them. So that's an enforcement strategy that EPD would have to lead, but it kind of was an idea that transportation planning had. So we're working with them to see if that feels realistic for them.
Josh and Nancy, Josh.
Yeah. Safe routes as a party to be involved in. Okay, I guess education campaigns were great for kids, like. I mean, we are talking about new devices that children aren't gonna be riding so much, but some of them are. But also just for people who are riding regular bikes or e-bikes that are legal but capable of riding too fast very easily. Like, I just know that all my bike etiquette came from being on a mountain bike team in high school and that I have really good etiquette and I'm like passing you on the left like every freaking time. And then that adults like don't learn these things as well. Like, that's just like fact. Like mass education campaigns have like on a lot of things have minimal efficacy, but when you teach kids something, they tend to remember it. So I was just
Right, okay.
curious how that.
So 4J is one of the only school districts in the country that does bicycle safety education for every single kid who goes through the system.
Yeah.
We're like really successful. And part of that bike safety education is path etiquette. Like the students ride on the paths and they teach them about passing and being polite path users. So that's part of what we're doing and hopefully that'll trickle down eventually in 10, 20
I
years.
just mean even, I don't know, there might be in terms of communication strategy as well, maybe.
Yeah,
the
well, and
parents,
parents
maybe
is a
they-
significant thing, especially for
Yeah.
the high schools, because a lot of parents are buying their high schoolers e-motos,
Yeah.
not knowing that it's an
So I
e-moto.
just, as an outreach strategy or partner. it's-
Yeah.
Because I know we were gonna have a couple of things that we need to deal with after this. Well, what else do you need to cover for sure?
I'm done. We
You're
can,
done?
I can hear
Okay.
from Nancy, yeah.
I would just like to put it out there that I'm really concerned about police presence on the
Yeah.
Willamette bike path.
On the, which
On the
bike path?
Willamette bike path.
Yeah.
On the
I
river
think
bike
that that's an unnecessary escalation. In most cases, I think
Yeah.
that would create a negative atmosphere.
Yeah,
I'm not really interested in EPD using their discretion on what to do on the bike path when people are getting killed on our streets and they're not even citing people who are speeding, who are killing people. I would just think that we should not go there until or unless we have to.
That's one thing that I've been trying to get across to people who, like especially park staff who are like, this is a big issue. And I'm like, it's a comfort issue. Like right now, it really is a comfort issue. Like we don't have any recorded instances of people having severe injuries or fatalities from these devices in Eugene. So I get it. It feels really uncomfortable and people are upset about it, but it does not raise to the level that like our traffic safety crisis is raised to. So definitely trying to like keep that in mind. This is something we can work on, but where do our resources go is a different conversation. So I hear that for sure. I appreciate that comment.
I really appreciate that comment.
Well, Willow, thanks, thanks to everyone who participated in putting this together and is working on it. What many of these things hopefully will help. It'll be a very incremental process of talking people into behaving well on the path, but this seems like a good start. BPAC. Brenda, Brenda, right? Yes, what do you have to share today?
We had a couple things we were gonna talk about when we heard about EPD and stuff like that. I've taken a bunch of notes, so I don't even have to ask about that. The one thing we had in one of our meetings yesterday, and we were hoping to reach out to you, and we would like to do a joint audit. The bridge, what we're trying to help with signage and everything is accessing the hospital via bike routes.
Yeah, right.
And so maybe doing a joint audit with you guys, going over the bridge over I-5, different routes to the hospital, and then coming back over the Harlow Bridge, different accesses that way. We'd pick a time, do a couple different joint rides and seeing where best. We went through it last night for like 2 hours and trying to figure out signage, and some of it's like, if you don't put a sign here, they're just gonna come out in the middle of a cul-de-sac and not know where to go. And we thought if we did it jointly, maybe we could come up with a really good result.
We'd love to do that. And I wonder if we could even track down some folks who work at Peace Health that bike there. I believe
We
there
are
are
working-
probably some.
So we've had past members that do.
Oh, good.
So we
good,
are
good.
reaching out to a couple, 2 or 3 of them
Yeah.
that we know do ride quite a bit.
Cause that would be, they figured out what the best route for them was anyway. But I know this was on the list of joint, probably both the Harlow Bridge and getting to Peace Health were on the list of joint projects to work on, and
Yeah.
we would love to do it, just send a date.
Yeah, okay.
That's awesome. Thank you for stepping up and taking the initiative.
And then if you guys can think of anything else we can do jointly, we're in. Just
Great.
reach out. I mean, I am trying to make every single meeting, as far as me coming here and just putting in my 2 cents or whatever, but if you think of anything that I can take back to us, we are doing our monthly meetings. And I can just take it back to our meetings and kind of discuss it.
All right, and how are we doing? I'm sorry, this is something I have just been poor about keeping track of. Do we have anyone currently assigned from this group to go to BPAC meetings?
Not that I know of. Peter was going.
I went to
done-
2 this year,
Yeah,
but are you wait, you're monthly now? Oh, I didn't get
So we
that.
have every other month and then we have some meetings on the other, so we are
Oh.
monthly.
Okay.
But bi-monthly for the main meeting.
One meeting room versus.
Right,
the other
bi-monthly
room,
for the
or every month.
If I could hand that off, I'd love to hand that off. I do love going to feedback, but I'm gonna be gone a lot.
yeah. Is there anyone who is interested in being our BPAC liaison? Sounds like probably a meeting every other month to go to the main meeting. There's some people who aren't here. Those of you who are
Always get
here,
back to me.
like you're trying to defer to
Yeah, we
them.
need to put this out as a.
Yeah, we used to have someone, people who went reliably, the folks who were, like, it was Brad, right? who-
Yeah, Brad and
he's-
Peter were sharing it.
Yeah. That's not here anymore.
That makes it easier, also if people share it, that's an option.
And you can do it virtually,
I,
right?
you can attend
I
virtually?
can attend virtually.
Okay,
Um,
sweeten the pot there.
But they-
Really interested in these,
Their second Tuesday, oh.
but I tell you what, I'll have a conversation and pressure each of you individually.
Be willing to share it with somebody. I'm gonna be out of town quite a lot too.
Okay,
Yeah, I've been out of town more.
all right, let me put this on my list to figure out. When's the next meeting, Brenda, for the
Next month, we just had it.
Yeah,
Tuesday,
second
so-
Tuesdays, they're
Second-
second Tuesdays,
second
So-
Tuesday, June?
so they're the same
Right.
week.
Very good. Any other announcements? Or any announcements, I should say. Hollis?
No, we. Now I see. Anyway. I'm good. Yeah, but, uh,
Starting construction on the top trail of Mount Pisgah next week.
Cool,
Oh,
thanks.
great, thanks, Hal.
The one other thing is Healthy Kids Day is on Saturday this week at YMCA. There's gonna be hay bale rides with the e-trike and all sorts of like things for families, so.
Very good.
One more thing, the sidewalk survey is
Yeah,
still
put one-
open for broken sidewalks.
Put one over there on
Are
the
there,
table, yeah.
I have, I'll put a few more over there, or you can just grab them from me. There's a QR code, put it up in at your gym, on your corner light pole. Any place, takes 5 minutes, but we want really more people to tell us about where they have seen and felt and experienced and heard about broken sidewalks.
alright,
Alright, and then policy subcommittees meeting when?
Maybe fourth Thursday.
You're always still on fourth Thursday, and capital projects, we still need to pick another date and time since we ended up with that conflict. Could everyone meet like right over in this corner here for just a couple of seconds? And see if we can figure out when the right time to do that is? And picking that corner just to make it's easier for most of us to move than for me to make Hollis wiggle his way down here. And I think with that, the meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Great meeting.
Reasonable.